Hey guys, this is Cam for 15, and we are back with another Marvel movie review. And I'm joined by my Uncle Daryl. And we are here with the next installment of the Thor movies, and that is Thor 4 or Thor Love and Thunder. And I enjoyed this movie. I like this movie a lot. Despite what obviously people are continually saying about how the MCU isn't as good as it once was. And yes, do I agree the build up to whatever you're getting now, wherever we're gonna go, isn't gonna be as good as the build up to Endgame was. Yes, but I'd still like each of the Disney Plus shows and movies that we've been getting. I think people just finding ways to nitpick just to nitpick and say things. But my thing is, if you don't want to watch no more, then stop watching. But
Yeah,
you continue to come back and watch more MCU stuff to try to put out some narrative that the MCU isn't as good as it used to be. But
yeah.
you can't please everybody. Everybody has their own.
Well, I think the issue is that you got your holy trinity of heroes. That two of the three of the holy trinity of heroes, Thor, Captain America, Iron Man. Captain America, Iron Man no longer around, so they have to find some individual hero to just build the phase four and beyond upon. And so far, they really haven't found that hero. But at the same time, the stories nonetheless are still really good. So I mean, man, just let the MCU do their thing. I'm pretty sure they'll do what they have done over 10 years of making movies. Is they'll still knock it out the park when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and I know I've been seeing a lot of YouTube videos going around saying, "Oh, Phase 4 has no direction." I'm like, "Yeah, it has no direction because the direction is the multiverse."
Correct.
So the build up now is to Secret Wars, and then I watched a review or a post credits review of this movie, and this one person pointed out maybe the big build up battle is what we see. I don't want to go into spoilers yet, but potentially something with the, I guess, Avengers versus the gods with what you see at the end of the film. We'll see.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we're gonna get into some non-spoiler thoughts. I'm gonna make this quick as best as I can. I enjoyed the movie. Chris
Me
Hemsworth
too.
obviously killed it out of the park. He always kills it as Thor.
Again. Yeah.
Natalie Portman reprises her role as Jane Foster.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the whole thing was, from what I can remember, I think she had some sort of falling out with Disney/Marvel to where that's why she didn't show up in Thor 3. But I'm guessing they repaired the relationship to where they made her come back for the
Or
fourth
did
one.
they repair the relationship? I mean, obviously, we don't want to give any spoilers, but at the same time, though, the ending of the movie would say maybe they haven't, to the point whereas they decided to just go ahead and move on without her.
We'll see. Maybe she just
Yeah,
didn't
I
want
mean,
to be.
we'll see. But at the same time, we are talking about the multiverse.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is this particular Earth. I mean, wherever they decide to go, it could be one of those situations. Whereas again, they bring everybody back like they did in Endgame to go ahead and fight this foe who kind of was revealed.
Mm-hmm.
Who I think was revealed.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
I was hoping they would reveal, and Marvel cut it short, and I'm like, ah! But we all know who it was. I know you know. I know.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, hurry up quicker.
Yes. So knocked out of the park. All the other actors killed it. Freaking Christian Bale as Gore was great. He was great. I just love some of the scenes. One of the scenes, which I'll talk about in the spoilers, is probably one of my favorite scenes. He was as Gore. The visuals, they looked really freaking good. My favorite visual part of the episode was definitely the Shadow Realm battle, where it was like all the color was there and then gone, just black and white. So that was visually stunning. Good stuff. I like the story. It had its comedic moments, which of course people are like, oh, the comedy didn't hit well for me, and I think it's too much comedy. But these are the same idiots that love
Thor
it's
either
Ragnarok.
not enough or too much. So just, man, move on, enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
Stop trying to, and again, I was one of those people too. I mean, Thor is my favorite Marvel character. But, when you read the books, Thor is this oft, really serious individual. And him in his younger days is when he was that party animal, which is what the MCU has Thor, has the character of Thor as this really just fun-loving character that is quick to make a funny about everything. But that's not the Thor that I grew up reading. So I get it. But at the same time, overall, great movie.
Yeah. I think people just attribute that to Taika Waititi's directing, but
Correct.
just before we get out of here in terms of the non-spoiler stuff, same people complain about the comedy. There's probably the same amount of comedy in Thor Ragnarok in this movie. You still get, I feel like they're kind of not similar movies because the stakes in Thor Ragnarok were a lot higher to some extent compared to this movie. But you have your serious moments, you have your comedic funny moments, and you have your very emotional moments.
Correct.
And stuff like that. So yeah, but all in all, I enjoyed it. Regardless, don't listen to what other people are saying if they're ripping on this movie saying it's not good. I think this movie is still fairly really good. I still think I like Ragnarok a lot more than Thor: Love and Thunder, but it's definitely out of all the four ones, it's my second favorite Thor because I don't like the first two ones.
Now, me, again, I'm a little bit more old school than you are. My favorite was The Dark World. Okay. My favorite was The Dark World. I gotta admit, I like the seriousness. I like the villain. I like the battles. Now, granted, it wasn't a lot of comedy. It wasn't the fun-loving Thor. I like the serious Thor, but I will tell you that the first two, for me, were my favorites in the series because that's the Thor that I like. However, that does not mean that these other two movies weren't good. Oh yeah, they were fantastic. I mean, they were absolutely fantastic. The humor in them was great. What Waititi has done is he has, for the most part, brightened the character of Thor, even with the lighting and how dark the first two movies were. He changed that all around to make Thor pretty much a living, breathing character that just is more bright and more funny and more bright and more vibrant. I like that. But at the same time, though, I like the seriousness of the old Thor. I know I didn't want you to vomit over The Dark World. To me, I like The Dark World.
I think everybody who probably checked this out will probably hate that thought that it's
maybe so.
There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. They're probably a small community of
I'm
people
pretty
that
sure
like the second
be
one.
Someone that'll post on this, and I'll tell you what, I'll watch them. If you got a comment, I'll respond to it. But get at me if you wanna attack my thoughts and things of that nature. That's fine.
Yeah. I was cool with the first one, but the second one, I can't. I barely get
yeah, I know. We've talked about it before. Yeah. And I know I've never said this to you. And granted, the first time I actually said it to you, it's one of our recordings. So my bad. I probably should have prepared you for it, but I like to shock you with stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyways, Thor: Love and Thunder, it's great. You should definitely check it out. Don't listen to what people are saying about it if they're not liking it. Go check it out. Form your own opinions. I liked it. I enjoyed it. So yeah. Anyways, we're gonna get out of here. If you haven't seen the movie, go see it whenever you have a time in your day to see it, or I guess you'll just wait for it to come on Disney Plus. When it comes out to Disney Plus, because that's how Marvel's been doing their things. Other than that, we're gonna get to our spoilers discussion. There'll be a spoilers, warnings, little short video, and stuff like that. But till then, guys. When you do see it, come back, watch the spoilers and stuff like that. But till then, guys, we'll catch you guys later. Peace. Hey guys, we're back for the spoilers discussion, and I think I'm just gonna go all over the place with this movie because that's kind of where it goes. I kind of don't want to do the whole going through the beginning and stuff like that. Now,
nope. Actually, do a Disney Plus season finale, review. Just hit them in the mouth. Go straight for it.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about the Natalie Portman situation because we brought it up a little bit in the non-spoilers discussion. So the Natalie Portman situation, I don't know. I probably should have looked into some more details before doing this review, but from what I guess I always figured is I guess there was some the backstage falling out to where it looked like she was going to more than likely be in Ragnarok, but then, I guess something fell out. She didn't come back for the third movie, and people were wondering, is she going to come back? And the reason how they wrote it out is that, Thor and Jane just broke off screen and everything. And I think they referenced that in like either Age of Ultron or some in between movie. I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was Age of Ultron. Him and I think it was Tony that might have been talking in a bar, and they kind of referenced their mates.
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of the way they read off Natalie Portman's Jane Foster character as a way. Now, the one thing I do love is we actually do get an explanation of like how they ended up breaking up, and it was kind of the typical trope. Is like, yeah, when your first stages of love and everything, when you're first dating out, you're just in the harmony mode. You're just love. You're always spending time with each other. You want to always do this, but because Thor was always being called away, whether it was, I guess, Asgard duties or more than likely at this time they were dating, it was like around after Avengers, stuff, or they're the first Avengers movie. He's probably being called off to do Avengers, work and stuff like that. So he was always going away and stuff like that, which left her alone. So then when, they spent time together, she would have to go because she was actually working on her theories and her doctor stuff and everything. And because of it, them being apart from each other because they had to do their work stuff, well, it made them grow apart, and they started getting into more arguments. And that's when you get the whole thing of, Jane left Thor a letter saying like, this is not going to work out, yada, yada, yada. But to go more on this Natalie Portman situation, I was actually, when I saw the trailer, the fact that she was coming back, I was like, wow, what did they do to get her to come back? But, well, clearly they said, hey, why don't you become Mighty Thor? And of course, if you're going to be participating in the action, you're going to want to come back, even if you had, I guess, some bad blood. But I also think Natalie Portman did this for the fans as well. But pretty much the whole Jane Foster storyline is legitimately taken out of the comics in terms of her Mighty Thor run, is the fact that she has cancer, which was the whole thing. It's like, okay, is she gonna have cancer? Because people didn't speculate. And when I saw her in the hospital when the movie started off, I was like, okay, yeah, they're doing the cancer storyline.
They're doing a cancer thing, yeah.
Go ahead.
For me, and I think we talked about it off screen, that the whole villain of Gore being this god killer, all gods must die and things of that nature. I'm saying to myself, okay, with this type of villain, which hero that's a god is going to meet their end? And the only one I came up with was Jane Foster. So when the Jane Foster thing came up about her having cancer, I loved how they explained it, though, about why she, because she thought, getting a hammer would actually heal her cancer, when in fact it made it worse. And I do believe he explained it to the Guardians of the Galaxy as far as the reason why they couldn't have a weapon like that, because Thor basically explained it, because your bodies are not made to handle this type of power. So Jane getting sick and Jane getting ill due to the fact that she kept using Mjolnir, it made sense to me while I'm in the theater, and I'm like, okay, eventually she's gonna be the one to get the end. Yeah. So to me it was a great story. Thor and Jane's relationship, how they ended, how they got back together, the stress and aggravation of how they are going to deal with Gore as it relates to her sickness. And man, it all tied in perfectly. Great job. I loved it.
And it was just like the comics, how in the comics, when the more she used her powers, the Thor powers, the more she was draining.
Right. The more she was draining basically her mortal essence, so to speak. Yeah.
So that was the whole thing. And then obviously we see at the end of the film that Natalie Portman, or Jane Foster, she ends up dying and going to Valhalla and everything. And I think this is just a better way to completely write her character out of the MCU, because I guess you can
maybe not, because keep in mind that we're talking about the multiverse here. We're talking about the multiverse here. And even Heimdall made an appearance. Heimdall's son was in the movie as well, too. So again, I'm pretty sure that if we're talking about the multiverse, no particular subject or character is taboo to the point, whereas I just don't think they'll die and go away.
Yeah. And then plus she's in Valhalla, and typically they can come back as a spirit essence and Thor can legitimately talk to them.
Correct.
So yeah. But if it's like, oh, this is Natalie Portman's last ride in the MCU, and it's like this is her way to just write her character off so she doesn't have to come back, and if that's out of her own respects, hey, I think she had a solid character arc, especially in this movie, and stuff like that. And typically, I'm not the person that wants or demands these actors to come back. Like, if an actor wants to come back, hey, let's find the story that's convincing for them to come back. That's why.
Because Chris Hemsworth actually said, man, as long as they'll keep having me, I'll keep doing Thor movies.
Yeah.
I mean, so he doesn't seem like he wants to stop.
Yeah.
You know, which is fine for me because I think he was a perfect cast for the character.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So the Gore stuff. Christian Bale's Gore. He was menacing as all get up. Now, my one tiny little nitpick is kind of the start of the film. I really feel like they probably should have went more into depth, more into backstory of Gore, than us just getting started off with he's walking in the desert with his daughter, and we already know his daughter's dying. I kind of wish we got more of a build up to like, because we only get like hints and bits and pieces, because when he talks to that one god in that oasis, he talks about like his race falling, the race that serves this god falling, and essentially all dying out. We don't really understand, like, okay, how was his home like all prosperous, what made it to getting led to being in the destroyed state to where his entire race pretty much dies out. How does he get to the
desert? The little girl's mother. Those kind of things. I mean, for the most part, the movie was pretty short by Marvel standards, so I think they probably could have devoted maybe 5 or 10 minutes to give a little bit more to Gore's backstory. I felt the same thing as well too. What brought Gore to the desert? What brought Gore to that state? Whereas he was basically the last of his kind, the last of his people. The relationship with his daughter, albeit you can definitely see how much he loved his child, but it would have been interesting to see a little bit more as far as their father-daughter relationship.
Yeah, and then the whole thing about his race falling out, again, another thing taken from the comics and stuff like that, which starts his whole thing against the gods. And like I said, he goes to this oasis area, he sees his god, and he's like, oh, please, I just want to serve you and everything and stuff like that. And the guy's like, please, I don't care if you die. You can just die for me right now.
I don't need you. Like, I don't need you. Go away.
Yeah.
Now, the sword that he used to kill this light god. Now, refresh me. Now, did the sword just magically appear? Was it always there?
It was always there. It was always there.
It was always there.
It was held by somebody this god killed, who was trying to kill them.
This god killed. Okay, got it. Okay, all right. And then the sword just all of us started talking to Gore, and Gore reached out for the sword. The sword obviously came to Gore, or he picked it up and then wind up killing this light god. Yeah. And at that particular moment, man, that's when, the sword just pretty much infused him with this ability to kill gods. And it just became an obsession with him.
Yeah. And that is the Necro Sword. Now, they handle it different in the comics. The Necro Sword is legitimately like from the symbiote planet, legitimately from the planet of the symbiotes. Now, obviously, with the fact that the symbiote is spawned, it's on Earth currently, but that's spawned from Venom from the Sony first. This whole confusing stuff, which is gonna go after Spider-Man. We'll see if we get a black Spider-Man suit arc. But the Necro Swords is from the comics, it's from the symbiote planet. Here they change it to where it's kind of like this godlike sword being. They don't say, they don't make any references to the symbiotes. Now, the monsters that Gore creates, I will say, they look damn near symbiote look alike. But it's nothing related to the symbiote. So they kind of changed that because they would have to get approval from Sony, like, hey, can we use this and stuff like that? And they don't want to go through all that
Correct.
drama and stuff like that. Which
so we're just going to go ahead and create all the different new characters. We'll probably call them all the different new names. We won't refer to it as a symbiotes, but so we don't have to let's just say do any royalties as it relates to going towards Sony. So I get all of that. But Gore was Christian Bale really knocked this out of the park. He really did.
Yeah.
It was also pretty good seeing Kat Dennings
too. Oh yeah, I was about to make a mention. She makes a quick little cameo at the start of the movie talking about how Jane shouldn't be forcing herself to do all this work. She just needs to do her chemo and just rest up and heal, because she has legitimately stage 4 cancer, which is like the worst stage you can potentially get. And stuff like that. So that was cool to see her. We haven't seen her since WandaVision. So that was a nice little cameo, seeing what we got there. We also did a cameo. We also did a quick cameo of the one doctor guy from the first couple of Thor movies, who pretty much was giving his thanks and his blessings to Jane and hoping that she gets better and stuff like that.
Over Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah.
And it was basically on it was a video telecommunication. So they were, for the most part, they were really quick. I don't think they were any longer than 5 minutes, maybe, so they did a lot of blasts from the past, but at the same time though, moving forward, then we get to New Asgard, and, we see Tessa Thompson as King, and, yes, oh my goodness. Great.
Yeah. Yeah, she's pretty much, since she's the king, she's pretty much, working on everything democracy wise, all the all the tours and fairs. Like New Asgard is pretty much, I guess you can say, it's a tourist location, but it also gives like the vibes of the I guess you can say a theme park. There's like a play where they kind of reenact the scene from Thor Ragnarok, when Loki and Thor were saying goodbye
Matt
to their
Damon
dad,
as Loki.
Yes. I knew. I was talking to my sister through the movie. I'm like, wait, wasn't that Matt Damon?
That's Matt Damon. Yeah, man. He was great. And matter of fact, that was which Thor was that they did that first? Was it the Dark World?
No, the
or was it Ragnarok?
Play? That was from Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Because Hela showed up.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. You sure was. And yeah, that was hilarious. Matt Damon. It was the big horns.
Yeah.
So it was great.
Unless there's a multiverse version of Matt Damon for another hero, whether we get a Secret Wars, don't expect Matt Damon to be in any other MCU movies as a main hero.
I don't expect. I think they're going to keep him just limited to the Thor series. If they happen to do a 5th Thor movie, I can honestly see him being in it, in his actor role. But they did do a scene when he's not an actor. Well, he's they had him against the other guy who's playing Thor, and they were just having a simple little conversation. I thought that was pretty cool as well, to see them with their regular hair and not the weave and all that other kind of stuff. So Wakiti did pretty well, man, blending all of this together into one movie, and then keeping it less than 2 hours too.
Yeah. Now, in the meantime, Jane actually goes to New Asgard because she's reading through the books and she sees about Mjolnir giving like pretty much unobtainable health. So that's what she thinks. She shows up. And obviously after pretty much, and they somehow have the display of the broken Mjolnir pieces there. So that's actually pretty cool. And she's just looking at it, and all of a sudden you see the pieces start have electricity, and then it starts to look like it's coming together now. We find out the reason why Mjolnir goes to Jane is because in the flashback, we find out that Thor made a promise to Mjolnir saying, like, I want you to always protect Jane.
Always protect her, that's correct.
So he didn't see this, but it left like an inscription on Mjolnir saying, okay, Jane will be worthy when the time is right and everything. Or maybe Jane could have actually wielded Mjolnir this entire time, and she just never.
Oh, or even better yet, once he actually made that proclamation to ask Mjolnir to always take care of her, that was pretty much, for me, what Odin did with Mjolnir originally by saying, whoever shall be worthy shall possess the power of Thor.
Yeah.
Well, Thor, in roundabout way, did the same thing with Jane. You know, Jane is worthy. Make sure you take care of her at all times. So Mjolnir was just being a faithful warrior and handling his business and taking care of Jane.
Yeah. Now, in the Thor front, obviously after the end of Avengers Endgame, he ended up going with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and him and Star-Lord had some sort of funny beef with the fact that he thinks he's the captain, but Star-Lord's obviously the captain of the ship. So yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy, their appearance probably about 10 minutes. Other than that, that's kind of it. It's not the trailer's trying to make it like, oh, they're gonna be in the film maybe for a good chunk of it, but no, they're there for like that first scene, and you know, they're just gone. And
I figured it was nothing more, just to, let's just say, try to beef up some type of interest for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, just to show that the gang is together, everyone's back together and things of that nature. So I didn't see, you know, anything that tells me that, you know, they were going to be a part of the story long term. So yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing. Obviously they have their little beef, but again, like I said, it's always good to see the Guardians of the Galaxy, their comedic banter.
Doesn't Chris Pratt and Chris Hemsworth have some really good chemistry in their two characters?
They do.
They really got some really good chemistry. So I did, the majority of my laugh was when he was with in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
You know, with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm looking forward to a third one, and I know Chris Hemsworth will be in it. So we'll see. But
well, I don't think he's going to be in it. I don't think he's going to be in the third movie.
Well, he might have a cameo. We never know.
Maybe a cameo. We'll see. But in terms of things to look for Guardians of the Galaxy, there is a I Am Groot Disney Plus TV show. You got the Christmas special that's going to be coming out this year, and then we'll just have to wait next year for what more than likely is going to be the last time we'll see the Guardians of the Galaxy be, especially because Batista made a tweet saying, like, you know, goodbye Drax, which
he was going to what are you talking about, Guardians of the Galaxy being the last?
Yeah, pretty much being their final send-off, unless I guess they want to do more. That's up to Kevin Feige and Marvel, but if anything, that tweet sounds like maybe, and people have been throwing the speculation that Drax more than likely could die. Because eventually at some point Batista he's gone on the record saying he's kind of getting exhausted and tired of doing the MCU formula over and over again. So we'll see, but that's discussion for another day when Guardians of the Galaxy comes. But Thor pretty much gets Thor pretty much helps the Guardians of the Galaxy take out like these bird-like creatures. And he's just taking them out fairly easy with Stormbreaker and everything, and you know, you have the music playing in the background. He pretty much saves the people of the race they deem him as like this god, the god Thor and stuff like that. It was funny stuff, but you know, he ends up taking them out and they're like, oh, thank you. And then obviously you get the scene where the little like shrine or palace thing legitimately just crumbles to pieces, and the people are like, okay, yeah, great. Which I was dying of laughter, and pretty much their gift is giving these goats. Now, when the scene showed up, I'm like, wait, I'm in the theater and I'm hearing this scream. I'm like, don't tell me somebody's baby is just like crying in the theater right now. And I'm just like, what is that? I'm now going over to my sister, like, wait, what's that noise? All of a sudden, it's these goats screaming. I'm like, oh, okay.
To me, that was probably the best part of the movie. When the goats crashed into that planet, I mean, man, the entire theater just went bonkers. I mean, the whole screaming, and that's all it was. It was just maniacal screaming from these animals that it was.
Me, my brother, and my sister were cracking up every time we saw the goats on screen, just screaming. And legitimately, if you're asking, if you're, I guess, a kid, goats legitimately scream like that in real life. Goat screams get a nice chuckle or a nice laughter out of me. Everything they went was hilarious. So that was pretty much the thing there. They give them the ghosts as a present. Pretty much, they're taking up space in the Guardians of the Galaxy's ship and everything, and pretty much Star-Lord's like, okay, you gotta go. I'm sorry, man. I respect
Yep.
you, but maybe you need to find your purpose. And that's when Thor, he pretty much goes on to say to Star-Lord, like, yeah, I've lost everybody all over the, my years of living and stuff like that. Recently, I just don't understand who I am, which I guess you can attribute to his first loss kind of being Jane Foster, or Jane Foster being the person that is kind of the person that makes him whole for who he is.
Right.
Even throughout all these losses, because he throughout the entire film, throughout these films, starting off with really the dark world with his mom dying, he's never had that person to, I guess, let out all his expressions or all his thoughts and feelings about situations and things like that. Like, after the Infinity War, he never had that person to go to where he could just let it all out and just let out all like
Right.
his
Right.
frustration.
He never had that one person that, well, it was Heimdall, really.
It was Heimdall, and then it was Jane also.
Correct. But he never really, Heimdall, well, Jane can never really understand what he was going through as an individual because, I mean, Thor was, over 1,500 years old. So really the only person that can truly understand what he goes through was Heimdall. Maybe Loki, but he never confided in Loki. But Heimdall was the one for him.
Yeah.
So if there's anything that he would have to say to anyone, yeah, for me it would be Heimdall, no question.
Yeah. So he goes off. And the thing is too, before he leaves, the Guardians of the Galaxy are looking at all the requests they're getting to help save, and they come across one of Thor's old friends. I think her name was Sylph, and she pretty much goes and say that
it was Sif.
Sif. Going on to make the mention about pretty much the Gore thing, and that's when they go to this one planet where this one godlike being has been defeated. They come across Sif, and Sif's still alive. Her arms cut off. And pretty much says that Gore is coming and he's coming for Asgard. So they go back to New Asgard. Before that happens, Gore is already on the attack, on the prowl and everything. And that's when you get the fight scene with the freaking symbiote-like monsters. They call them like shadow creatures or whatever.
Yeah, obviously they couldn't call them symbiotes. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
To me, they look like the dang symbiotes. Have you ever played Spider-Man, the video game Web of Shadows? I never played that game, but it's like one of the best ones out there. But it's just say, oh, what if symbiotes just went bonkers, or what if Venom just went on an all-out symbiote incursion, pretty much? That would be a great storyline if they do that.
It would be.
But that's only what the Sony does, because Sony just likes to. Whatever I say, I don't so many. Yes, you get the fight between Thor. Thor shows up, he's participating. Everybody's like, yeah, he's here, Thor's back and stuff like that. Then he sees Mjolnir, he hears it, and he's like, Mjolnir, and then it goes back, and obviously it's Jane, and he's like, wait, who the hell are you? Yada. But then she takes off her mask,
mask, and he is completely blown away, as he should be. Yeah. And he's wondering, how did you get this power? I know what I told me on there. I totally forgot about it though. But how did you get this power? Things of that nature. Boom, boom, boom. And thus they start the adventure of getting to know each other again, as well as trying to stop Gore from, or better yet, get the children of New Asgard back from Gore.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing, because Gore ended up taking the children, which you get this one creepy scene, but it, for some reason, I don't know why, was just smiling, but I was laughing at the same time. This man Gore shows up to talk to these kids, and this man's like, "Hey guys, so you
it's story time." It's story time with Gore.
He gets one of his monsters, kills it, and it scares everything. He's like, "See, don't you like this?" And they're like, "No, get away from us." So
I'm going to kill all of your family, and we're going to kill everyone, and we're just going to have a blast, So
yeah, Christian Bale, you could tell that he loved doing this role.
He really loved doing this. It's a quite contrast from when he did Batman.
Yeah, I kind of do wish they didn't really kill the Gore character off. He could have been maybe a little lingering threat going on. But the thing is, the Necro Sword was also it was, and that's another thing I liked is they kind of have a symbiotic type of thing between him and Jane. Gore and
Keep in
Jane.
mind now, I don't think, and I know we're under some very limited time here, but I don't think this is the last of Gore.
Yeah,
I really don't.
He could show
I
up.
mean, the whole thing with
Multiverse.
and I'm gonna just go ahead and say it Galactus. I think that was the introduction, and he needed a herald. I don't know if it's going to be Gore that becomes a Silver Surfer or anything like that. I don't know if they're going to go the same route, but that's what I was thinking. I was thinking Gore, Herald, Galactus, new villain for the MCU Phase 4, 5, and wherever they decide to go with all of this.
Yeah. We're going to quickly get out of here, guys, because our Zoom timer is up, but we'll be back real quick.
I mentioned Galactus, didn't I?
Yeah. Okay, we're back with probably the last part of Thor: Love and Thunder. But like I said, the one thing is the whole operation with Thor, Korg, Jane, and Valkyrie is that they have to go on a mission to find the kids. And again, they find out where they're going because Heimdall actually speaks to Thor, and Thor sees that they're going to the Shadow Realm, which I think this is the first time we see Heimdall had a son. So
right.
I never even thought about that. So yeah, maybe Heimdall might be a future Avenger team member. Don't know.
Don't know.
So yeah, they've been hinting up all these like, you know, teenage kid Avengers pretty much for potentially in the making. Yep. So yeah, that's the whole thing. Now the reason now they know Gore is pretty much because he's pretty much unstoppable with the Necro Sword is they have to go and find an item that pretty much can help out with that, or in a way to help them. They want to go get all the gods to help, and what's the best place? They want to go to where Zeus lives at. Yes. Now in the meantime, freaking we see Jane before they leave. She depowers from her Mighty Thor form, and we see that she looks terrible. Like this. I like how Marvel made her look. Like they gave her a pale look. Her eyes were all like black and everything.
They did to her what they did to Chris Evans in Captain America: The First Avenger, and you can actually tell they kind of beefed her up. I thought anyway with CGI.
Yeah.
To when she was in Thor form. So yeah, it was quite the difference for when she was carrying the hammer as when she didn't have it. So yeah, I noticed there was a really big difference, and then it took me back to what they did with Chris Evans in that first Captain America movie.
Yeah. So yeah, they end up going to Zeus's place and pretty
Olympus.
much. Yeah, Olympus. I think they called it something else, but it's pretty much Olympus.
Yeah, I mean that's what I that in the books that's what it is, but I don't think they called it Olympus either. As a matter of fact, I don't even think they referred to it in name. Did you hear an actual name?
They called it something else. I forgot what it was.
They did call it something else? Okay, I was just so jacked up to see Olympus that it was really cool to see.
Yeah. And if you're wondering, yes, the Greek gods, they're in the MCU too. They're legitimate characters in the comics and stuff like that. So yeah, it was pretty cool. Now, Zeus is pretty much proclaiming everything, and then their whole plan is to go before Zeus, ask him like, can we use your assistance and all the other gods' assistants to help take down Gore and everything. And they're talking mid-scene, and Zeus is like, okay, whoever the hell's talking, please come up right now. So Thor stands up. Now, Thor, he actually respects Zeus a hell of a lot. He actually formed himself after Zeus. And now we can see why his early years, he acted pretty much like an immature guy, because Zeus, shockingly enough, in the MCU, he's immature.
Very immature. Yeah.
So he does the whole thing like you see in the trailers. He flicks off his robe where he shows him butt naked. He has a Loki, I love Loki tattoo on the back.
That was so funny. It was a R.I.P. Loki or something like that.
It had to go through like, I think that had to happen with his like when he got fat or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
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 But yeah, the freaking god women drop in because it's Chris Hemsworth. What the heck did they expect?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so pretty much, Thor is like, listen, we need all the gods' help to take down Gore. And of course, Zeus is like, oh, please, Thor, Gore will never get to us. Now, a lot of people were speculating, oh, Gore is probably gonna kill Zeus, and everything, and that's gonna be like, oh yeah, he messed up. But no, it's actually freaking Thor that runs a little
Thor.
hole through his chest through
Yeah.
Zeus. And I was like, and when he threw the lightning bolt at Zeus and it went through him, I was like absolutely shocked. I was like, wow, they
Yeah.
just killed him. He drops. I'm like, okay, we just
Yeah,
killed Zeus.
and that was a pretty nice twist, man. I'm just like, because in the books, man, Zeus is up there with Odin, man. It was like, man, but of all the people who probably could go toe to toe with Zeus, yeah, why not the god of thunder? You know, and he can handle it. He can handle it, and man, that shot was just really jaw dropping.
Yeah. And when he dropped, I'm
Yeah,
like, when he dropped and he was like pretty much from what we thought was dead, I was like, yeah,
yeah.
that's gonna bite them back in the ass eventually.
Oh yeah, heck yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So they fly off. They grab the lightning bolt. They're on there. So you get the scene where Jane and Thor they pretty much reconcile through all the differences they had and everything. Thor or not Thor, Jane blurts out because at this time Valkyrie is the only one that knows that she has cancer, and she says, "I don't
Correct.
want to tell him or anything," but she accidentally, well, I want to say accidentally, but it's a moment where they're connecting, and then she just blurts out like, "Oh, I have cancer," and he's like, "Wait, what?" And she's like, "I have cancer,"
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So you get there a moment to where it's a cute, adorable, romantic moment between the two of them finally coming back together, finally realizing that they both ultimately need each other, both love each other, and stuff
Right.
like that. As they're getting to the shadow realm, and again, just the way they just went from color to just black and white, just crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, no, they get there and they're looking for the kids, but the kids are nowhere to be found. Jane eventually finds out, oh, this is a trap. And again, another great scene. For some reason, the MCU has been good with these like villain scenes when they like, I guess you could say, capture the main hero and they kind of interrogate them at the same time of doing that. This scene really gave me vibes of the Mysterio, encounter with the illusions in Spider-Man Far From Home, something like that.
Mhm.
But freaking Christian Bale
Mhm.
again knocks it out of the park by saying, I need Stormbreaker. And that's why Jane, she threw it out and she was like, no, he needs Stormbreaker to get to this place called Eternity.
Right.
And they end up capturing them, and pretty much Gore is like, you better call Stormbreaker, otherwise I'm going to kill you.
And if you also look inside that room, you see the statues of the Living Tribunal. You see also the statues. I think it was also Chaos and Order, I think was in there as well too. So, I mean, it was some pretty heavy, powerful characters that was also inside that tomb. So Thor, he had to pretty much fight him off because Jane had already threw away Stormbreaker. And we all know, based on Thor Ragnarok, that Thor can use his powers without the hammer. I think the hammer or the axe.
Yeah.
He can use his powers. And they did a lot of that in the movie as well, especially when he ran Zeus through. So Jane did get rid of Stormbreaker, and they're continuously fighting. But Jane gets her tail whooped. I mean, so, but as usual, Thor does, he does kind of handle his business in the moment. And then they move on to the next area to try to stop Gore, because now the villain is, for me, the main antagonist was hinted in this scene. And that's all I thought about. I for the most part, once I saw that black silhouette and I knew who it was, I mean, I'm looking at my son, I'm looking at my son, your cousin. I'm like, do you know who that is? And he's like, no. And I went, shh. I said, don't say it loud because you probably have a lot of people who just don't know who he is. That is Galactus. And he went, no, yeah. And that's when, your Aunt Katina was telling us to shut up and watch the movie. But, so that's when we see. And Kevin Feige had hinted to it in this movie. You're going to see who the main antagonist, or well, probably one of the main antagonists was going to be. And yes, Galactus.
Yeah. We ultimately don't know. It was a good silhouette. That could be the case.
Come on now, that was Galactus. You need to stop. That was Galactus. Who else could it have been?
I don't know.
Who else?
Some being.
No. You know that was Galactus. It was Galactus.
We'll see.
Come on. And that's why I said right now, think Gore, because the Silver Surfer was bald. Gore was bald. We're going to see Gore again, and I honestly think he's going to be a herald of Galactus. I'm going to say it here first, and I know if I'm wrong, your people are going to tell me I'm wrong. But if I'm right, I want that credit.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, that was. Geez, we skipped a lot. You skipped a lot.
We did. In my excitement, I'm just talking about Galactus.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, but that Thor the Gore interrogation scene, like when he made Valkyrie cry about her Valkyries falling and everything, I was like,
correct.
This guy is freaking ruthless.
He is deep.
Yeah, great. It's great, and it's like he had idea. It's like he could look into their memory and just take bits and pieces and stuff like that.
Correct. He can delve into their soul and bring out bits and pieces to emotionally charge you with, just to make you overcome with emotion, just so he can get something from you.
Yeah. Thor ends up calling Stormbreaker. He get the fight in the Shadow Realm. They end up losing. And Gore ends up taking Stormbreaker so he can set up the eternity thing, the pathway or the gateway to eternity, which is in the center of their universe or something like that. So that gets started. In the meantime, when they get back to New Asgard, at this point, Valkyrie's out of commission because she gets impaled, but she's okay. She doesn't die. Jane, she's absolutely a wreck. She's to the point the doctor's yeah, I don't even know if she'll be able to freaking make it through anything.
Right.
And that's when you have this pretty sad emotional talk where Thor is listen, you cannot use Mjolnir because it's killing you and stuff like that.
It's killing you. That's correct.
So,
and that's when I think, isn't that when he found out about the cancer when she was in the hospital bed?
She told him he had cancer. He didn't know what stage it was, how serious.
Okay, gotcha. He didn't know how serious it was. He really didn't find out how serious it was until she was in the hospital bed.
Yeah.
So, and that's when he revealed to her, you cannot use Mjolnir anymore. It's killing you. Now, we will get through it. We will get through it like we've always have. I just need you to not go and not help me out and going to go get these children.
Yeah. So he goes to he takes the lightning bolt. He goes to the place that Gore is at. He pretty much supercharges the children thanks to the lightning bolt and says, we're fighting for Asgard. You're the future and stuff like that. And again, great scene
where he temporarily infused them with the power of Thor.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. And you know how Marvel does it, man. Marvel has got to have these big endings. So, when he did this, all of these children are just infused with all different it basically takes their current Asgardian ability and it enhances it with the God of Thunder's powers, which I thought was pretty cool. Even Heimdall's kid was actually infused with it. It was nice.
I was cracking out with the one chick because he was the one little girl. He was somebody grabs
the bunny.
Yeah, he's grab something, and then the girl just put up the bunny, and I'm like,
hold up the bunny.
You see, she was the power. The bunny got the power too.
The bunny got the power too, and she's using the bunny as a vessel to shoot people with electricity.
So you get to the fight between Thor and Gore, and it gets to the point where Thor looks like he could end up getting himself killed because he's pinned down and he's about to stab the necro sword into him. But then Jane she just sees Mjolnir, and also I forgot to mention there was this funny thing that Stormbreaker was jealous of Thor because he was always reaching out to Mjolnir and everything.
Right.
Stuff like that. So it was hilarious because
And
Stormbreaker, I guess,
Stormbreaker didn't even want to hear. And
yeah.
Stormbreaker didn't even want to talk to him.
So
Yeah.
Mjolnir, is right next to Jane. Jane sees it. She takes up the mantle of Mighty Thor again. She shows up. She has her final, while Thor is pretty much trying to stop Stormbreaker from opening the portal to eternity. Jane has her fight with Thor, and she's going through the whole thing, and she pretty much gives her whole cry. She's like, "You can call me Mighty Thor, or you can just call me Jane Foster." And she pretty much finishes Gore off. He's down for the count, but then she falls down because she's obviously weakened, and it's starting to catch up. The cancer's starting to catch up with her. Then all of a sudden, Gore goes through the portal to eternity, and we're in this like similar like light scene, like if you remember back in Infinity War where Thanos was in the soul realm at the water on the ground, but the lighting's different. It was like more of
yeah, that's right. I was about to say the only thing that was different is one set was at night scenes and the other set was in the daytime. So the lighting was a heck of a lot. And you can characterize that for me where it comes with what Keith wanted to make sure that everything was brightened, because Thor was such a dark character that one of the things that he did add it was more lighting to brighten these characters up so you can actually see them. And I like that too, especially Gore, man, because when they focus on him, then they made sure they had enough lighting so you can actually see scars on his face, the color of his eyes, and then the blackness that's inside his mouth. So again, the lighting in this movie was really great, and no more better than that scene that you're discussing.
Yeah, and pretty much in this scene, he's pretty much, because the whole thing about eternity is, I guess they take a little copy from a Dragon Ball, which is one of my favorite animes, is the whole thing about wish granting. You get to eternity, you granted a wish of anything, and stuff like that. Now, originally I thought, I'm like, oh, because they're going this whole this whole thing of they're telling Thor's telling Gore, like, yeah, look, you can wish for what you want for. I'm just gonna go be with the person I love and everything, and stuff like that. And that was kind of the whole thing of like Gore needs to find out what he ultimately loves. I thought they were gonna have the thing where Gore sacrifices his wish because at the same time he's also dying from the overuse of the Necro Sword. I thought he was gonna tell Thor, listen, you freaking use my wish to save her. I thought he was gonna wish for Jane to still be alive, be cured of the cancer. But no, they don't go that direction. He gets what he wants, which is he wants his daughter back to life. And his fear was, well, I'm just gonna be dead because I'm dying right now. She's gonna be all alone. And Jane was pretty like, no, she won't, because Thor's still going to be there. Thor's still going to be there. Have their final goodbyes and stuff like that. Very emotional moment as she pretty much withers away. She ends up going to Valhalla because she was pretty much deemed a god. And in that scene, in that post-credit scene, she's confronted by Heimdall saying, well, welcome, Jane Foster. Now you're here in Valhalla. You can come out, spend the rest of your life here and stuff like that in the afterlife with us. And stuff like that. In the meantime, Gore, he dies and he says his goodbye to his daughter. And pretty much, Thor, after that part ends, Thor ends up taking care of Gore's daughter and kind of adopts her in a way. Now, she calls him Uncle Thor, but it's kind of like a stepdaughter step thing. Now, the cool thing, I actually found it from another review, or the same post-credit scene review, is that little girl that is played by Gore's daughter, that's actually Chris Hemsworth's legit daughter in real life. So
cool.
I thought that was absolutely cool. The fact that this dude is gonna pretty well, we don't know what the status on Thor 5 is, if there's gonna be a Thor 5 and if they're gonna age the Gore's daughter up. But if they have Thor 5 be it to where it's just Chris Hemsworth freaking working alongside his legit real life daughter, that's actually pretty dope.
That's actually pretty cool.
That's really
now
cool.
What I will say this, and I'll say, I know my excitement about Galactus, and I mean, it looked like Galactus. However, that is also the form of eternity as well too. Now, how the character eternity plays out as far as the multiverse is concerned, with everything that comes beneath him, We have no idea. Now, I will tell you though, I still think that Gore made a deal with Eternity to save his daughter. Now, what Gore has to pay, we don't know just yet. That's why I feel in my heart of hearts that he will return in some form of fashion as some type of, help for Eternity. And looking back, yeah, granted, my excitement said Galactus, and I jumped. Now, I still want to see Galactus. I will, and we probably will. But, it does seem to think to me that the main antagonist in the MCU is going to be, yes, Eternity. So Eternity is powerful. Eternity is, it's pretty good. I don't think Eternity, as a matter of fact, I think wasn't Eternity in the original Infinity Gauntlet series is one of the
I never had time to read the comics, so I want to know.
Oh, dude, you need to read that series. You need to read that one. That's a good one. So I'll see if I can send it to you.
We'll see where that goes, but yeah, Thor and
Eternity seems to be the main antagonist in the series. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see. Yeah, you may say Kang, and I may say Galactus.
I don't think it's Kang. I think they're building up to something bigger. So,
but that would be what Eternity would be.
I think there's going to be phases. Like, I think that's again, it's a discussion. We really don't ultimately know.
No, we really don't know
where they're going.
When we're talking about the multiverse, we can have one phase. It'll be one entity. It could be another phase with another entity, and all of these different entities come together as one, or come together to form a clique, heroes and villains. So we really just do not know where we're going with all of this. And I do like the fact that Marvel is keeping us in suspense, but they did give us a little glimmer in Thor, Love and Thunder of one of the villains that we probably will see long-term, Eternity.
Well, we'll definitely see. I don't think they're going to introduce Galactus till after the Fantastic Four movie.
I don't think they're going to introduce Galactus until the Fantastic Four.
So, well, we'll see where that goes. But yeah,
I want to see him, Cameron. I want to see Galactus, and not like that planet thing that Paramount did with the original.
I think they're going to do the legit, real Galactus.
I hope so. That thing that they did, that was just so damn stupid. Don't get me started. Excuse my French.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Thor is pretty much working alongside Gore's daughter as his adoptive daughter, and they're just taking out these quests and stuff like that. Korg, who actually got broken, he reformed. I guess he's making a child with this other Korg-like guy. And Valkyrie's still being king of New Asgard and stuff like that. So pretty much everybody has a happy ending. I hope Thor at least told maybe Kat Dennings' character, Darcy, that Jane's dead. They also do pay a memorial and respect to Jane and stuff like that. So yeah. But we were talking about the Jane post-credit scene. So there's a chance she could return, maybe not. We'll see. Only time will tell. But the main post-credit scene that sets up the future, whether it's for this future of the MCU or for Thor 5, is we find out that no, Zeus is still alive. Somehow he's still alive. He's getting prepared up by the girls, and pretty much he's saying like, so, he wanted us to help out the mortals, huh? Well, okay. The gods we the gods will show the mortals truly. We're like, because these mortals hail these superheroes as their gods. Okay, we'll show you the powers and the might of gods. And we pan out and he's like, I need you to take care of this, my son. And we see Hercules right then and there. So this is insane. Hold on a quick second, guys. Okay, sorry for the quick thing. Yes, when he says my son, he pans out, we see Hercules.
And he's holding his mace.
Yeah. Now, when I watched this review of the post-credit scene, this one guy maybe insinuated that maybe the next potential big threat could be maybe the new Avengers team versus the God characters. We could get Avengers versus gods, because he did say, Zeus said in the line, like, oh, mortals see these freaking, superheroes as their gods now. They don't understand what our true power is.
Right.
Unless, it's going to be Hercules versus Thor, which sets up Thor 5. Um, we'll see. We'll see. Personally, I'll take any storyline if they go that. If maybe the next Avengers movie is, Zeus's God army versus the new Avengers, new reformed Avengers,
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine
Mm-hmm.
with that. And stuff like that.
Well,
Now,
the MCU, just to keep everything, just to keep the interest high, they have to introduce new characters.
yeah,
We just can't keep seeing the same old, same old. So yeah, they have to introduce new characters. When we see Olympus, I'm like, okay, where's Hercules? He would make some sense. So then we saw Hercules at the mid-credit scene. So, I thought that was really interesting to see. So yeah, I am looking forward to what they do next, because they did introduce Eternity. They did introduce Hercules. They did introduce Thor's daughter as Love, and Thor as obviously Thunder. So it was a great ending to a really great movie, and looking forward to what the MCU does next. The next movie, what is the next movie in line after this one?
let me actually look that up. Actually,
Because it are we talking?
okay, hold on. This is gonna be the next movie will be Black Panther Wakanda Forever, November
Wakanda
11th,
Forever.
2022. Other than
Okay.
that, we're
And
getting obviously the
you're
season
getting
finale for
She-Hulk.
Miss Marvel is Wednesday.
Yep.
She-Hulk August
That's August.
August 17th. There's a
Yep.
I Am Groot short August 10th.
Yep.
Apparently
Yep.
untitled Disney Halloween special in 2022, probably October. And the next
Mm-hmm.
thing up will be Black Panther Wakanda Forever. That's the next movie.
Wakanda Forever.
That
So
movie,
we'll
it's all controversial because we don't even know what the hell is going on. I just don't know why Marvel just won't just recast somebody, just be T'Challa, but they want to make things
that's
harder.
really difficult to do though, because he was so great in the role. It's really difficult to sit up here and recast when the original character, where the original actor was just that darn good in the role. It's really difficult. I mean, the only thing I can probably see them doing is having the first few minutes CGI with Black Panther getting killed or assassinated or what have you. I don't know if Michael B. Jordan is gonna be in the movie. Letitia Wright obviously will, and there's a lot of speculation that she's gonna be the new Black Panther. We don't know. So yeah, it's a lot of speculation surrounding it. So we'll see what they do, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure they'll come up with a really good solution and put out a great movie.
Yeah, Black Panther will be the last movie of the year till next year, which will be Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumanium coming out in 2023. But yeah, all in all, I enjoyed this Thor movie. I can't wait to see where the future of the Thor movies is gonna go. Again, it's I guess up to whatever the Marvel does with the Thor character. Chris Hemsworth did say he would continue to play it as long as they have something for him. But if they do a fifth Thor movie, I definitely could see, in my eyes, I definitely could see Chris Hemsworth eventually maybe only do maybe a few more projects, maybe one more Thor movie, and then maybe two more like maybe Avengers style like team up, if not three. After maybe the next biggest threat, which could potentially be Galactus. We'll see, and then I think he'll just call it a crap. But I think even after these phases, I think that'll be it. They'll probably just then restart it all over again and just reboot the MCU from the beginning again. Because I think after whatever phases we get here for probably 4, 5, 6, I think after 6, that's when we're like, okay, let's reboot it all over again. New actors and stuff like that. Let's tell our story in a different way. So, yeah. I'm glad that Chris Hemsworth, he's not exhausted, in the role, but we'll continue to see where it goes. But like I said, Thor: Love and Thunder, out of the 4 Thor movies, I do think we're gonna get a 5th one. Again, it's based on where they want to take this Hercules storyline. if they want to write off the Thor character where Hercules ends up being his replacement, because Hercules is pretty strong from what I
Yep.
from what I always look and hear of other reviewers and stuff like that. So he could be a solid replacement for Thor, right then and there. So if Chris Hemsworth says like, okay, I'm actually starting to get a little bit exhausted of this, well then there you go. You can maybe have it to where Thor 5, Thor meets his end, and then hey, that's when you bring Natalie Portman back, and he can live off in Valhalla with Natalie Portman or Jane Foster,
Right.
pretty much. But out of
I
all
don't
the
think
four,
I can't imagine. I can't imagine them killing Thor though.
yeah, but we don't know. We don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But out of the four Thor movies, this is probably my second favorite Thor. My rankings go Thor Ragnarok as my favorite, Thor Love and Thunder, the first Thor movie, and then Thor the Dark World, in my opinion, can just stay on the bottom tiers of not only the MCU's movies, but in terms of my Thor movies, legitimately away, like probably about the same distance about where me and my uncle are at, pretty much. Just a long way away. I don't want to interact with that because I did not like it. I thought it was boring, but that's just me. But
yeah, that's just you.
Overall, I had an enjoyment of this film. Definitely can't wait to see what the MCU has in store next. But yeah, that's just me. Any other closing thoughts?
Yeah. No, man, actually I'm good, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing we got a glimmer of who the next bad guy is going to be. A glimmer. Now, where they go with it is always intriguing from a Marvel movie standpoint. I'm sorry I let you down with the Dark World. I'll do a heck of a lot better moving forward. Maybe I'll just watch all 4 today and change my mind. I think I'll do that. I think I'll do that just for you. I'll just go ahead and, I have the first 3 already. I've been looking for a marathon, so I'll go ahead and do Thor the Dark World, and then Thor Ragnarok, and I'll come back, and then maybe I can make a determination to see if one of the others can actually top the Dark World as my favorite Thor movie. So more to come.
Yeah. In terms of other movie reviews, nothing floating my boat of movies that I'm interested in seeing. The only next movie review you're going to get is probably with my other co-host, my friend Denzel, in terms of the newest Dragon Ball Super movie coming out August 19th out here in the States. So I'm definitely going to be seeing that. But other than that, the only other movies I'm looking forward to the rest of the year, barring anything I guess catches my eye, is only either Black Panther and that Black Adam movie, which we will talk about. Even though
Black Adam is what, October?
I think it's October or November or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's October. I think they pushed it back. I think originally it was supposed to be May.
Yes.
But they pushed it back, so which is good. So I'm really looking forward to that because the DCU needs an injection of some type of. They need it bad, and they got it with the Batman. So hopefully they can.
I'm holding my hopes out that this Ezra Miller stuff with the Flash doesn't get any worse to where they just drop the movie and say we're not releasing it, because
I hope they don't drop and release it, but it's already reported they're dropping Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
So between Ezra Miller and Amber Heard and everything that's been going on with the DCU, man, it looks like they're starting off from they're starting all over again. And Wonder Woman 84 wasn't really good.
I liked it, but
no, I liked it, but I mean, from a box office standpoint, it really didn't make the money that they were expecting. So, and I still like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Patty Jenkins has got to do something to really reprise that role. So we'll see what happens with the DCEU.
Yeah, the only interesting thing about the DCU I loved in the past year was probably Suicide Squad, the new one, and Peacemaker. Other than that,
and I didn't care for those.
Yeah, you have to really watch it. Those are actually really damn good.
Oh no, I did. I watched it. I just didn't care for it. I really liked Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
But that was probably the last one for me. Well, obviously the Batman obviously was really good for me, but the years between the Batman and Aquaman, it was just a lot of garbage for me.
Yeah. Speaking of DC, I have to see if I have time on my schedule to plan it maybe a Superman or Lois season 2 episode season review because I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah, let me know. I haven't seen the season finale yet. That's one of the things we're talking about doing today.
Okay.
And yeah, yeah. You were really leading me up to that final one, and I'm sorry I haven't seen it yet, but I'll let you know when I do.
Yeah. And then I'll probably do a Flash. I think it's season 8 on my own, unless you watch the Flash CW show, but I'll probably do
I stopped watching the Flash because, and you know, your cousin will tell you every season Barry does something incredibly stupid, and we wind up either going back and have to go back in the past or do something like Barry. Just stop it. Why don't you? Just please stop it. You know. So yeah, I stopped watching Flash after season 6, I think it was. So I got sick of it. I just got sick of the monotony with the show. But it's a good Grant Gustin is a good Flash. So I don't know if they're use him to replace as Ezra Miller. I think that's what the fans want. But typically what the fans want, the fans don't get. So I honestly think they'll probably wind up shutting that show down after the season 2.
Yeah. DC content will be coming back. I'll probably decide to finally make my time up to re-review Peacemaker or leave off on the reviews I left. I know I'm on episode 4 for that. So I got to review episode 4 of Peacemaker. I got to find out. But DC content's going to be coming back on the channel just like Marvel content. But DC's got to do something. They got to do something pretty much.
It's getting bad because now Marvel is really starting to get in the crux of their stories, and they're leaving the DCU in the dust. You know, well, they were already like 10 lengths behind them, but they got to do something. Now it was a great start with the Batman. Let's see if they can piggyback off of it and lead it from there.
Yeah, I just think DC's way of retconning everything is that Flash movie because they're just going to use Flashpoint and just reset everything again. So, But anyways, guys, if you guys like the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section your thoughts on Thor: Love and Thunder, as well as hit the subscribe button if you want to get more MCU, DC, or any other movie content or any other anime content I upload to the channel and stuff like that. But look forward to I don't know when this video is going to go up, probably Monday or Tuesday, but look forward to Miss Marvel season finale review with me and my Uncle Daryl as we give our closing.
Can't wait.
So
can't wait. After that number 5, I can't wait.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, catch you guys in the next video. Until then, guys, have a great, safe day. Peace.
Peace.